Hello, bookish friends. I thought that I would jump on here and do a quick catch up. It's been about 2 weeks since the last time I filmed a catch up video, and I have read a few things since then. I seem to be reading quite a bit on my Kindle lately because I find moments during my workday to read, and so I just kind of open the Kindle app on my phone and read for a bit, which has really kind of amplified the amount of reading that I've been able to get done lately. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I've been making good use of Kindle Unlimited and also just buying more Kindle books. I don't think I will ever prefer the Kindle over a real book, but in times like that, when you're on the go, say you're at an appointment and you're waiting when you have a few moments, it's good to be able to just open an app on your phone, something that you have with you all the time, and read. So you will see quite a few Kindle books coming at you in these updates because I am very intentionally making the choice to pick up a book and read instead of doom scrolling on my phone, just making the best of the options that I have available to me. Without further ado, let's just get into it. So in my last wrap up, I spoke to you about Justice of Kings. I was very early on in the reading process in that book. I have finished it since then, obviously. I gave it 4 stars. I'm just checking my notes because, I don't want to leave anything out. This book very much, like I said, it reminded me of The Witcher in that it felt like they were going on these missions, these adventures, and they're traveling justices and in his little crew. It is definitely kind of like a mystery, almost like Sherlock Holmes, but with it taking place in kind of a medieval setting. The world building was very vivid. The characters were very flawed, but they were so fun to read. Their personalities really stood out on the page, and I really enjoyed them. It's very fast paced and easy to read. I feel like I flew through this very quickly. I definitely will be picking up the second book in the series. I've already downloaded onto my Kindle. I wanted to put a little space between the first book and the second, but I will be returning to that world. It was very fun. This book is told from the perspective of the clerk of the justice, and she watches as her mentor evolves into this man who starts to walk the line between revenge and actual justice, and she doesn't know how she feels about that. So there's a lot of juggling of emotions and feelings and right and wrong. And it was such an interesting mystery within the story. It's kind of a layered tale and really just well told in an easy to read fashion. But yeah, I definitely think that the characters were well developed, well honed, and the plot was the main focus in this, I think. And it was really fun and fast-paced. There is a lot of talk of religion in that the battling or the factions butting head in this are the king and his justices and these religious sects that are trying to step in and take over because they disagree with a lot of the common law and whatnot. So it was really fun and highly recommend. Great series. I can't wait to pick up the next book. So after that, I picked up The Morning Star by Karl Ove Knausgaard. So this I picked up in physical book, and it is a rather chunky book. I think it's like almost 700 pages. And because I'm only really reading it at home and maybe quickly at my lunch break, I'm only about halfway through at this point. This is a very slow-paced book, I will say. It is a contemporary fiction, but it also is labeled as metaphysical. And you can see that coming through as he delivers these perspectives. So there is a handful of perspectives that you get, and these characters are telling you about their mundane experiences, their everyday life, washing dishes, taking care of their kids, going to work. Within that, you get to know them pretty well. And it's, like I said, it's very slow paced. And they all seemed to describe their relationships and their characters that they're interacting with. And you get much more detail about these characters they're interacting with physically, I mean, than you do about the actual character. I mean, you do get some small details, but most of it is left unknown. And I think that he does that with the thought that it's easier for you as the reader to step into the shoes of these characters without having them be such distinct otherness. If you can picture them as, you know, a part of yourself, then maybe you can see through their eyes a little bit better. I think that his writing is very simple, yet very beautiful, and I really love the ability of him to write such differing and distinct storylines within each character. This book is translated from Swedish, and it is a Swedish setting. But yeah, it definitely lends you that sense of familiarity, just kind of walking in their shoes and seeing through their eyes and experiencing these somewhat unusual occurrences through their perspectives. I would say that it is interesting. I think most of the characters' perspectives hold my attention. There are a handful that I like less than the others. It is a rather boring. I wouldn't say it's captivating or enthralling. Like I said, it's very mundane, but you can see the beautifulness in his the beautifulness, is that even a word? You can see that he's a great writer. Like he has an ability to write great characters, and you can tell that it's going somewhere. Like something is going to happen, because in the background of all this living that these people are doing, there is the morning star that appears in the night sky, and surrounding that are the unusual occurrences that start to happen. And so I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm not sure how it's going to land in the end, but I'm enjoying it. Next, I decided to start listening to an audiobook. I've been listening to this on my way to and from work, and that is Taste by Stanley Tucci. If you're familiar with Stanley Tucci, he's an actor, and he also made a series on Netflix, and I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up and put it here. But it is him exploring Italy and the foods of Italy and the people of Italy. And so this book is very much the same. He is of Italian descent. His parents were immigrants. They moved here from Italy. So he has a very close tie to the Italian culture and food, and he really discusses this greatly in this book. And I love that it is told from him, like he is reading this book in the audiobook. I will say I almost wish that I had picked up the book itself instead of the audiobook, because within this there are tons of recipes, and he does, I guess I could go back and re-listen to it and write them down as he goes. That's one thing that I would recommend, is if you wanted to read this, maybe get the book and the audiobook, listen to it, but then you also have the recipes on hand. But yeah, his charisma and his personality really comes out. He has some funny moments in there talking about his family and their traditions. And so, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not quite sure how far I am, maybe halfway. I think I'm on chapter 8. The next book that I read and completed is A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James. This is a new release. It just came out like this week. I read this in like 3 days on my Kindle. I gave it 3.7 stars. So this is a horror / mystery thriller. I think this is pretty common. This is pretty much how all her books go. There is some horror element, whether it be ghosts or what have you. This one tells the story of 3 siblings who had a kind of screwed up childhood. Once they get close to the age of 18, they all kind of left home. There is also an event in which their little brother, who was 6 years old at the time, he goes missing and is never found. And so this, and the fact that their parents were shitty parents, really scar them and affects their lives. Eventually, there's something happens and they're called back to their family home, and they go there with the intention of solving the mystery, of finding their brother and coming to terms with his disappearance, trying to close that case and have some closure. I think Simone St. James is really good at the meat of the story, the beginning and middle of the story. I do think she lacks a little bit in the endings. I feel like sometimes they're just a little bit unbelievable or a little bit lackluster. And I do feel like that is what ultimately knocked this book down for me. I just didn't love the ending, but I thought the characters were fun, although they seemed very similar. They weren't super distinct in my opinion. I do think that she is one of those authors who it's a really fun read, a really fast read, but she could use a little bit more time in development of her plot and her ending. I've picked up pretty much all of her books, or not all, but a lot of them. I think she's an auto pickup for me. I read most of her stories because they are so fast-paced and engrossing, and the mystery is so fun, and they're while they're all sort of similar in some respects, they're different as well, if that makes any sense. And I love how they straddle the line between mystery and horror. But yeah, I think her endings need a little bit of work. They leave a little something to be desired. It's just a very dark atmosphere, and it was really fun to read. I enjoyed it. I read through it really quickly. It was like 377 pages. I enjoyed it. But if you like Simone St. James, you should probably check this one out, because I think this one was probably one of her better ones overall. So that's all I have to say about that one. And so when I finished that, I picked up a book that I heard another booktuber mention, and that is Carpathians by Paul Dixon. I believe I picked it up on Kindle Unlimited. This is a sci-fi book. It is a first contact story, and that's all I really know. I've read maybe 10 pages at this point, so I just literally picked it up this afternoon. But from what I understand, it is set in the future, like in 3029. Humans have migrated, they've started colonies on Mars, but they are still reaching out to the stars, trying to find habitable planets and maybe other species, or not species, but other, aliens. I'm not really quite sure. And so they have found ways to enhance the human lifespan and knowledge of, their capabilities. And so they select a group of children and they enhance them. And that's where I am. That's all I really know. And I believe then they're going to send them out looking for a new planet. So I'm really interested to see how this works for me, see how this goes. I love first contact stories. They're one of my favorite stories, my favorite books, type of books to read. And so I have high hopes for this one so far. It seems to be written very simply and easily read. I haven't encountered a lot of big language or incomprehensible ideas. It seems very accessible to most readers. So I have high hopes that this works for me. It is a larger book. I think it's like 570 pages, but I am reading this on my Kindle, so hopefully I will be able to kind of power through this one pretty quickly and let you know how it goes. As you can tell, I have 3 books that I'm currently reading or listening to. And 3 books that I actually finished? Or 2? 2. That's what I'm reading. That's what I've read. I would love to know what you've been reading and what you have read and things that you have loved. So please drop me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought. As always, I'm so glad that you're here, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.